Welcome to the Elite Mind Athlete Mental Performance Podcast, hosted by Coach Jay Mercado, founder of Elite Mind Athlete. We're on a mission to transform your high school athlete into an unstoppable titan, far beyond the confines of the game, preparing them to dominate in any arena. Get ready to dive deep into the minds of elite coaches, former college athletes, and leading experts as we uncover the secrets to mental toughness, resilience, and peak performance. Today's podcast is sponsored by Elite Mind Athlete, the ultimate online mental performance program for high school athletes. Now let's get into the arena with Coach Jay.
What's up, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to Elite Mind Athlete Mental Performance Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Jay, and today we got a special guest, Coach Perez. Is not just a high school football coach. He's played for the Gamebreakers and the Austin Vipers and had the opportunity to help both teams win a championship for both of them. He also has an impressive team record of 14 interceptions with 5 years of arena football experience. Coach Perez brings a wealth of knowledge and strategy on and off the field. He also has a master's degree in communication and conflict resolution, a bachelor's degree in science, making him a treasure trove of wisdom and insight. This man's on a mission, and today you get to share some of that wisdom today, my man. So, Coach Perez, I appreciate you being on. Thank you so much.
Man, thank you for even having me, man. Now, man, that was a heck of an intro. I appreciate that.
Absolutely, man. Like I said, when we had our conversation, we talked for almost an hour and some change.
Yeah.
And you have some great wisdom and knowledge that I want to be able to extract to help these high school athletes, just give them a better probability of not just making it at their sport, but man, taking and extracting these lessons to go make it in the next arena. Because like I always say, it's not the sport that makes you successful. It's the actual lessons. If you can extract them and apply them to life in general, you'll be a dog in any arena and be able to be a top performer.
Yeah. The biggest thing, like I said before when we was on the phone call, just paying attention and watching and learning and being a sponge, man, and just understanding you're not the smartest person in the room. So it's okay to listen to other people, to watch other people, to see other people not necessarily make mistakes, but what they do that makes them great.
Yeah. So, I mean, I got a quick question right off the bat. I want to make this a super more interview style because I want to pinpoint exactly and take the information out of your brain and give it to the world because it's
Sure.
needed. When we're talking about high school athletes, one of the biggest problems that we tend to see is we could tell them these things, but how do you make them grasp the importance of it where they can cling on to it? Because we could tell them and it can go over one ear and right out the other.
Yeah, we live in a generation where they have to somewhat, and I hate to say this, learn the hard way. So sometimes they have to get exposed. So I can tell you all the time, hey, get up and go run hills. Hey, get up and train. Hey, get up and do this. But until you literally see it and you go against it, there's only two things that's going to happen. Either you're going to fold and you're going to find somebody to blame, or you're going to tap in and try to figure out, hey, what can I do to get better?
Yeah. So I was following this mental toughness psychologist. He's a brain scientist, and he did some studies of what makes mentally tough people and how to build mentally tough kids. And the number one, I guess, antidote to help build mentally tough kids is let them feel the pain of consequence.
I agree. Totally. Growing up as a kid, everything was based off consequence. If you don't do this, you don't get that. So if you don't clean the kitchen when I say clean the kitchen, you don't go outside and play. And growing up as a kid, to me, I was an outdoorsy kid. I loved to play pitch up tackle. I loved to go play baseball, anything I could do athletically. So my mom and dad knew spanking me really wasn't the way, but they also knew if they took things away from me and they hit me in the sports realm, that I would act right. And I really didn't have a problem with, getting in trouble, things like that. It was just minor things. Mama go to work. Mama say, hey, I need this kitchen clean so when I come home, I can cook. If you don't, there's a consequence. So, you just made sure, I know for me, I made sure that I did everything that my parents asked me so I could do what I wanted to do.
Man, you hit it. You said something that I think that parents don't do anymore. So I want to get on this quick topic that, we see this next generation that they're the weakest generation to come up, right?
Mm.
And I think personally, the kids haven't changed. I think the parenting style has changed that created this because what you just said, they attacked you what you enjoyed the most, which was sports. In today's age, parents are so afraid of their kid not to play the game that they're not going to take their kid out of the game in fear of missing out, in fear that their kids can lose that position, in fear that, they're not going to have the probability to make it pro, right? So they won't attack the sport. They'll take them to the sport all day long, but maybe they'll like do the video games, or you'll get grounded, or you won't have no phone. What's your take on taking your kid out of the sport versus, hey, let's ground him from his phone?
I don't think taking them from the sport. I just think once again it goes back to consequences, but it starts at home. So a lot of the times there is no consequence at home. So when kids do come to school, they, or they go to somewhere, they're not used to having consequences. So when a coach does discipline them, they're like, what is this? Like, why are you telling me what I can't do when at home I do whatever? So it's one of those things. But I think you have to have those consequences, but the kids have to fail. Like they have to learn how to recover from failure. Like getting your teeth kicked in a football game. Don't pull them out of it. Let them deal with it. Let them go through it. Let them feel what it's like to be exposed. Because like I said, it goes back to two things. Either that person is going to fold and never play again, or they're going to come back and be like, okay, what do I need to do to get better? I don't like that feeling. So just letting them fail, giving them the consequences. You have to give them consequences.
When you have a kid that's not doing well, has a bad game, throws a temper tantrum, and do you have a rule in place in your coaching staff where they can't talk to you in 24 hours, or or a parent can't come talk to you, or because the parent's always going to try to defend their kid, right?
Correct. We do. I think we do. I know for me, I always tell the parents sometimes like, hey, give me or give us a 24-hour rule. Because in coaching football, man, football is an emotional sport, man. And when you're getting just beat, in which we have before, we've got beat to where kids are just, they're not playing well. And you have to let them go through it. And you have some parents that are trying to come up after the game and we'll be like, hey, man, hey, listen, I understand how you're feeling and I totally get it. But allow us to go back, watch film, and just think about what you want to say before you say it. Because the thing about emotions, when you lose like that, emotions are high. And it ain't just high from the parents. It's high from the coaches too, because we implement the game plan in the week. It didn't work. So now we have to go back and look in the mirror and be like, okay, hey, what is our strength of our kids? What can we do? What can this kid do? And for me, in the secondary, I have a saying that if you get beat for a 50, 60-yard touchdown, I'm not going to scream at you because the whole stadium saw you get beat for a 50, 60-yard touchdown. I'm going to ask you, you're going to come back, we're going to evaluate, we're going to look, and we're going to dissect what happened. Okay, what do you see? What did you think you did wrong? What do you see? And hey, coach, I can't cover this. How can I cover it this way? And we'll go back to the drawing board. Like I will never yell and scream during the game because enough of that goes on. I want you to have a clear mind. And sometimes I even tell the kids to walk with me. Hey, walk with me. Let's walk down the sideline and I'll talk to them. Hey, we got this. It's one play. But that's the one thing about football. It's the next play. And any sport, next play, just like life. You go to sleep, next day. You know what I mean? So you got to have that next day mentality. And once again, those sports, man, it just truly prepares you for those moments in life.
Man, I think that comes from your master's degree in conflict resolution right there, because when you approach a conflict, right, the last thing you want to do is match the energy of that conflict. walls
Correct.
are going to go up, right? If you're
Right.
upset and I come at you upset, we got two upset people and you're not going to be able to hear each other,
Right. Right.
right?
Right. Right.
And
I
so,
just truly just think that you just have to truly just understand who you're dealing with. And that comes with just knowing the kid,
yeah,
knowing what makes them tick. I know what each person in my secondary last year and this year, I know how they respond to certain things. So I'm gonna flip the way I respond. If they are loud and yelling at themselves, I'm gonna calm and be like, hey, look at me, we're good, calm down. Now, if they're quiet, I wanna reciprocate the same energy, but I also want to be like, hey, tell me where your brain is at, what you got going on.
yeah,
And usually they'll tell you.
yeah. You being an athlete yourself,
Mm-hmm.
how important mentality is for you, and how did you use it to you get to play 5 years in arena football? Like what type of mindset do you have to be able to get to that and hold it for 5 years? And where do you see the gap between your high school athletes and what it takes to actually get there?
Um, for me, it was when I first came into the arena realm, I really didn't know anything about it. Like I would watch it on TV. I would watch it, go to my buddies D Walls games, Derek Wallace. We'll get into him later. But like I would go to their games and I'd be like, dang, I think I can do this. I think I can play it. But when I
How
went
old
to
were
the
you?
first, huh?
How old are you when you were watching it and you were deciding if you're
I
going to
had to be
play?
in my late 20s, maybe mid to late 20s.
Oh, this is after the degrees? This is after
Oh,
school?
this was before. This was way before the degree because I just finished my degree roughly 4 or 5 years ago. So
Oh
it's
man, so you
oh yeah,
go
we'll talk
man.
about that.
Hell,
Yeah, we're gonna get into
okay.
that.
All
So
right.
yeah, so I just went and watched, and my buddy was like, "Hey man, come to this game with me." So I go to the game, and I'm like, you see Arena One, which is the high level, and you're like, well, I didn't know the lower level arenas exist. Like you got Arena One, you had Arena Two, then you had IFL, then you had SIFL. So it's different tiers. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And so like when I saw him playing, I'm like, I think I want to do this. So when I went to the first tryout, which was in Belton, Texas, I literally just drove up and was like, hey, I'm just gonna see if I make it. And I actually wound up making it. Now, when I got in there, when I got a training camp, that's when I was like, yeah, Corey, you ain't working. You thought you was working, but you ain't working.
I got to rewind you back real quick because you
Yeah.
said late 20s.
Yeah.
So let me take you back to high school real quick. In high
Wow.
school, were you a top dog? What kind of player were
Nah,
you in high school?
I was a good teammate. In high school, I was just a good teammate, man. In high school, I just was trying to be, I knew that I had to do the little things. I knew that I was little, and also the guys that were in front of me were bigger, they were faster, and they were a lot more talented at that time than I was. I
Hmm.
just knew I had to get in where I fit in. Andrew Jackson, RIP to him. He's the one that was like, hey, if you want to play, you're gonna do the little things, Perez. You're gonna show up to practice on time. So I never had a problem with showing up to practice, but I had to do little things. That means get on special teams. A lot of people are they don't want to do those things. They don't want to block for anybody because they want the ball. For
Yeah.
me, I didn't care about that. I was like, hey, if I block somebody and Terrence Calhoun, which was our guy in high school, him, Mike Jose, and a couple other people. I knew if Terrence would break off my block and go for 90, I'm cool with that because hey, I did my job. So I've always been a good teammate. In high school, even when I played basketball, I didn't play a lot, but when I did get in, I knew I had to make something happen. So I wasn't that kid that was gonna give you 25, 14. I'm gonna give you 5 steals. I'm gonna get 4 hard fouls, and I'm gonna probably get some blocks, and I'm gonna dive in the stands, get somebody popcorn, or knock somebody pickle at the head because I'm diving for the
Yeah.
ball. That was just my mentality, man. It was just like, hey, you're little, but you gotta bring something to the table. And I just had a lot of dog in me.
Did you have goals and aspirations of going pro in a sport?
Oh man. I remember I think I was like 7 or 8, man. I would tell my mom, hey, I'm gonna buy you a big house.
Yeah.
But she was like, boy, get out of here. And it was crazy because all throughout about 5th, 6th grade, I would just practice my signature because I just
Mm.
thought I thought I was gonna be famous. I thought I was going to the league. And I was like, I'm just gonna practice my signature and just see how it looks. So every day I had this big old notepad in my room. I would just write down my signature. I don't like that. I'll do it again. I'll do it again. And then about 8th grade, you watch the Heisman and all of that. And so, I just had a very, mind where I could just vision things and I was like, hey, I'm standing at the podium accepting the Heisman. Like,
Yeah.
I had no idea. I didn't know. I didn't know how much work it took to get to it. And I didn't do any of those things. But in my mind, I was like, I'm going to prepare like it. So going into high school, didn't really start much. I played, but I was just a really good teammate. I played all the special teams, played sporadically a little. I played more DB than I did quarterback. And, just had fun in the process.
Did you play multiple sports in high school?
Yeah, football, basketball, and track.
Oh,
I
okay.
did all three. Like I went from one to the next to the next. I think my freshman year I played a little baseball, and Coach Jack, he told me, he said, "Son, you enjoy playing football?" I said, "Yes, sir." He
Gotta
said,
keep
"Well, guess
playing
what?
it.
You're running track. You ain't got no choice." It was
Oh,
never a doubt in my mind that I wasn't going to do it. It was, yes, yes, sir, Coach, I got you.
yeah.
So I had to go home, tell my mom, hey mom, I'm not playing baseball no more. I'm running track. And she was like, well, I'm sick of you doing all these sports. I'm like, well, this is what I have to do in order to reach what I want to reach. And she understood it. But
Hmm.
I mean, my dad, he loved it, man. And going, talking about my father, man, he's a lot of my motivation, man. He taught me at an early age what it was to work, what it was to sacrifice. I mean, he worked at Buttercrust for years. And Buttercrust, if you don't know, back in the day, they used to deliver bread to all the food stores,
Yeah.
HEB, things like that. So he would get up at 2 in the morning and he would take me with him. Lord knows I hated it, but it taught me something. It taught me how to work. And it also taught me, like, hey, man, I don't think I want to do this. I want to do something else. So um, it's just one of those things where I had a good father figure who really taught me how to work. I mean, he was a custodian for 35 years. He coached girls basketball, won city championships, multiple. And then he coached me my 7th grade year in football. And it just blossomed from there.
Man, you said something about working at an early age, and
Mm-hmm.
there's been stats of studies of super hyper successful people on what's some common themes of why they're super hyper successful, right? And what they
Mm-hmm.
found was at an early age, they all worked. Like it was very common for every single one of them at an early age in their teens that they went to work and got to expose themselves of really what I don't want to do. I don't want to be doing this. So then their mind will vision what they did want to do because this over here was not what they wanted the future to look like. And you just kind of said that I didn't want to be, doing the bread thing, right?
Right, right.
And so that pain of not wanting to do that makes you vision the reward that you're trying to achieve, which was play pro football, right?
Correct. Yeah,
And
man.
so
I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, go. That was just a strong point of like, parents, a lot of parents don't want their kids to be working. A lot of them, all they want to do is just let them focus on that one thing, right? And
Right.
they're just missing out on a grand opportunity of what it looks like to actually have to work hard at doing reality of life, which is everything. You got to be able to work, you got to be able to do school, you got to be able to do sports, you got to be able to handle it all because that's what builds the mental toughness. That's what makes the burn. That because they're going to struggle in that.
Right.
Struggle. It was the
Right. The
missing link.
struggle. Yeah. And so when you talk about struggling, man, coming out of high school, not a lot of people know that I didn't even graduate on time. So back in the day in the 90s, like if you didn't pass the STAR test, you didn't get to walk. So I didn't pass that STAR test. But one thing that I did, and nobody even knows I did, I don't even know if my mom even knows I did it. I went to the graduation. And so I didn't get to walk, went to the
Yeah.
graduation, sat way at the top of Nelson Field, and I watched all the homies graduate. And I vowed to never, ever in life feel that way again. And to this day, that's what fuels me because I mean, it wasn't anybody's fault that I failed that STAR test. It just was mine. I just didn't concentrate because in high
Yeah.
school I was all about sports. I didn't really take the academic piece seriously. So I take full responsibility in that, but also understanding like when I saw my boys graduate, it was like, dang, like everybody else getting theirs. Here I am struggling. And so like I need to change my mentality.
Yeah.
And that day, it was really hard for me, but it also stuck with me. And kind of going back to my parents raised me and my siblings. It was like, hey, we don't have money for you to go to college. So scholarship, academic scholarship, or whatever the case is, you have three choices: school, work, or army. Like those are your options.
Yeah.
And so early on, I knew that I had to work. My pops, he would literally, he worked at Pierce Middle School and they had this hill that they would run up. And he would just be like, hey, son, how much time you run up that hill? Me, I'm just running. I'm down. And not really understanding what he's really doing for me and the work ethic he's putting into me. And he's like, yeah, you want to work. But, you know, after high school, I'm kind of fast forward, but after high school, you know, had a kid. And so like right after high school, like I was 19, had my first
Hmm.
son. And so like when you make choices, because life is all about choices, you have to deal with those consequences. And me having a kid at such an early age, um, it taught me a lot because I had to grow up quick. But I
Yeah.
also had to understand I had to be a family man, and being that my dad is a pastor, my grandfather, I come from a real religious background, church background. Everybody in my family pretty much is a pastor or a deacon or something to do in the church. Um, I got married at 20 and had another kid by the time I was 22. I was still
Mm.
playing ball, but
Playing ball
like
where?
I was still playing arena ball with the game. I mean, not arena ball. I played with the Austin Gamebreakers. So I was playing semi-pro ball.
So
But
after
like
high school, you were playing
after high
ball?
school, after high
Okay.
school, yeah. And so after high school, played a little semi-pro ball and just, I guess if you could say enjoying life, but kind of chasing a dream and not really understanding that the dream, it doesn't come true for everybody.
Yeah.
So now, what is next? What is next? Like, okay, Corey, you've been playing ball for going on 10 years now. You haven't made any progress to anywhere else. Either are you satisfied at this level or do you want to go somewhere else? And me going to that tryout in Belton, that's when I started really understanding like there's another level to this. Like I thought I was working, but I wasn't working.
Let me ask you from semi-pro, which is Vipers.
Right? Game breakers, yep.
What was that process to get on those teams? Was it just try out?
Basically, you go to a tryout, run your 40. They do all the little things, 40, your standing broad jump. They do everything that the NFL combines do. And they cut some people, but semi-pro is basically you buy your own helmet, buy your shoulder pads. They don't furnish you with anything.
Mhm.
Like I don't know if they do now, but when we were coming up, you had to get your own helmet, your own shoulder pads, thigh pads, knee pads, and you go out there and you play.
And the goal
And
is to try to get recruited from there?
uh, well, we thought. So
Yeah.
we thought, it's like, hey man, maybe I can go play Canadian football. Because back then they didn't have all those things they have now with the XFL and the USF. They didn't have none of that.
Yeah.
Semi-pro was it. It's either you went to college. If you didn't go to college, like this was it. You work. You're a civilian. Basically, is what I call it. You're a civilian now. You got to learn to
Yeah.
work, and got to work with people. So um, throughout my time with the Game Breakers and the Vipers, there were some people who really took an interest in me and that really impacted my life. And my first coach, semi-pro coach, Dennis Jones, I was playing receiver, and he was like, "Well, Perez, I like you at receiver, but I want you to play DB." And so I was like, "All right, I'll just make the switch." So that summer, all I did was backpedal. All I did was backpedal. All I did was backpedal. And I trained. At least I thought I was training once again. I trained, and then coming into that season, I started. But what people don't understand, you're playing against grown men, like grown men, and you're playing against some people that maybe should have went to the league or they played college football, and they did, and they still just want to be around the game. So now you're playing semi-pro ball against some pretty good athletes. And at that time, I think Austin, we was the only semi-pro team besides at that time Bastrop and Hutto. And man, we were good. We had a really good team, man. But you start to understand when you start going to the Dallas area, it's some dogs up in that area. We played one championship game. Well, it was a semifinal game here against the Central Penn Piranhas. They were out of Pennsylvania. And that taught me a lot too, because now you're playing against guys. You look at their roster, you see, oh man, all these big time names. You're like, dang, I get to play against these dudes. So once again, I thought I was working, but I wasn't. So
Let's talk about
like I
that. Because high school athletes, they think they're working hard. Right?
Yeah.
Like high school athletes think they're working hard, and the environment around them, their parents think they're working hard. They think they're working hard. And the reality is they're not even in the game when it comes to working hard. And so what does working hard? You say you thought you were working hard. What does that look like for you versus what it actually was? What are the key differences?
Man, it's just different, man. You know by looking at people if they're working hard or they're not. You can tell. And for me, like I said, when I started playing arena ball, I ran up against a buddy of mine named Derek Wallace, who he plays semi-pro ball too, but with us with the Gamebreakers. But he moved on. He started getting paid. And he would always be like, Perez, come on, man, come on, man, come on, Perez. But one thing D-Wall never did was he never made me come work out with him. It was like, I'm gonna give you the option. If you don't, I'ma still get mine. So once again, it goes back to people are getting theirs. What are you gonna do?
That pain.
Yeah. So I mean, even like people, if I bring that guy's name up, Derek Wallace, man, people that know him would be like, yeah, dog, like capital DAWG, dog. And he's no bigger than I am, but I thought I was working out till I got with him and I started getting into the training realm. And I was like, well, what I'm doing ain't nothing. Because I would go to do a hill workout and it was like 10 and these little hills. And then I get with him and he's like, yeah, we doing 30. I'm like, what? 30 what? And he's like, 30 hills. Oh, so this is what it means to work out. This is what it means to really tap in and be committed to it. Because a lot of the time, I wasn't really, my commitment was there, but it was only committable to the people that I was around.
Yeah.
So like we'll work hour. Okay, go home. Cool.
Yeah. Check.
And I still got energy.
I worked out.
Yeah. Check the box. I worked out.
Yeah.
And I still got energy to go. I still got energy to go play with the kids and do this and do that. When I worked out with D-Wall, all I wanted was water. And I was asleep. And I was like, now this is working.
So I have a saying, your next level will always require, your level of exposure will always determine your level of success. So if you're only exposed to high school level work ethic, you're only going to be able to do high school level work ethic. So the level of exposure, which happens to you got exposed to someone who's getting paid. This guy's level work ethic is 10 times more than what yours is. Our job is to try to expose my job as a high performance coach. When I get high school athletes in my program, my job is to give you a gut check
Mm,
of like, listen, you think you're working hard because everyone around you is not working hard.
mm-hmm.
You are doing the required work. Anytime you catch yourself doing the required work, that means the work that you're just doing, showing up, your base level low performance when it comes to work ethic. If you're just showing up for early morning practice, if you're
Yep.
just working out with your team, if you're just showing up after school practice, if you're just showing up to the games, listen, that's required work. For you to play the game, these are the requirements for you to do. This is bare minimum. You're not even in the
Bare
game of
minimum.
work ethic. Yeah,
Yep.
you could be working hard. Every time I talk to an athlete and they tell me their goals, dreams, aspirations, how you going to get there? You know what they tell me? Work
What's
hard.
that? Huh.
What does working hard mean? I don't understand what that means. You tell me what that means. Oh, run faster than the next guy, like work more intensity. I'm like, no, man. Listen, my job is here's what they actually do, the unrequired work. Because the higher you want to go in your competition, the more detail you got to pay attention. So it's not just running 10 hills, it's
Yeah.
running 30 hills. It's working on your recovery after that. It's working on your performance hydration. It's all the detail stuff that
Yep.
you're just checking off a box. They have that box, and then right next to that box are 10 little boxes that go
Yeah.
with that box.
Yeah, for sure. For sure, man. It's important that they get exposed to like different athletes and why this athlete is good at what he does. Like D Wall, I mean, every year he was consistently every year AFL All Star, AFL this, AFL. He got, I mean, like every year he was consistently like All Star, All Star, All Star, Player of the Year, Player of the Week, Player. I'm like, well, god dang, it's something that he's doing that I'm not doing, and I gotta figure it out. So
You
that
got
was
good
my
people
biggest,
around you.
yeah, that was my biggest thing. It was like, okay, sometimes you gotta get with people who are better than you.
Find them.
And yes, so going in, like I said, when we went to that arena tryout, um, there were three guys, and I told you about them: Rolandis Johnson, Roderick Knight, and Greg Brown. Them were the top three DBs. And my DB coach, Coach Cable, man, shout out to him, man, because he really, really taught me how to play, to look at the game from a mental perspective and how to chop routes down and this and that. But he would just tell me, "Hey, Perez, I don't know how you're gonna crack this roster, but you better figure it out." And he would always, and coaches were honest with you. Like these are my guys, and with them three being those hit the guys, like man, they don't even know. They taught me how to work. Like in practice, like they taught me how to practice because I thought I was practicing. They taught me what it really, really meant to practice hard and go at everything full speed, game speed, because a lot of people don't know. And I'm a firm believer in how you practice is how you play. So if you practice lazy, you're going to play lazy. And
Mm-hmm.
people don't understand that. But going into that arena realm, people were showing me how to practice because in the arena realm, it's dog eat dog. It's 24 spots. And then it becomes a numbers game. And now if there's a guy like D Wall who comes in that plays two-way, he plays DB and receiver, and you're just a DB, which was me. I got three in front of me. I got D Wall that plays both. If they ain't taking five DBs, guess what? I'm cut that week. So now they going with them four. So the biggest thing was how can I crack the roster? How can I get in this? And I really had to learn how to play both in order to really like crack the roster. Or somebody
Yeah.
got hurt, which you don't ask for, but you got to have that mindset when your number's called, be ready to go.
Be prepared. So we all know that saying, man. Um, Success is when preparation meets opportunity, right?
Right.
That's why you always have to stay ready.
Stay ready so you ain't got to get ready.
Stay ready so you don't have to get ready. A little things that you are mentioning here and there that you had people in your life, they didn't pull you and say, let's go. They gave you an option,
Right.
right? And I don't think what parents are missing out, parents are pulling them to practice. Parents are
Mm-hmm.
waking them up to go to early morning practice. Parents are just like literally holding their hand and dragging them through these things. And what they're doing is they're enabling that self-discipline that they should be building, right?
Right.
And they're missing the infrastructure. So when they go out into the real world, they've been so used to mommy and daddy taking them, turning on the light for them to wake up to go to school, because their parents don't want them to feel the pain of my kid missing practice because now coach is going to get mad at him. So they'll wake them up. Hey, we got to go to practice.
Yeah.
But I think what we need to recognize the connection is we need to just give them options and let them feel the pain of not showing up.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Let them feel the pain of not going to practice. Listen, I'm not here to hold your hand through this. If you want this,
Right.
but the parents want it more than the kids. And so
Right.
they'll drag them through it.
Well, yeah, when you do that, when you drag them through it, eventually two things are going to happen. Either they're going to accept it and be like, okay, this is what I want to do. Or by the time they get old enough to be able to say, to talk back or whatever the case is, they lose the love for it.
Yeah.
And it in turn, it backfires because they don't want to work. They're tired. They're tired of you pushing them because in the end, they're just doing it because you want them to do it. It's not because they want to do it. And so even with my kids now, my own personal kids, I've never been like, hey, you have to do this. I'll expose you to it.
Yeah.
But now if you don't want to get up and go to practice, guess what? You're not going to quit, but you're going to finish the season, and then we'll look at it next year. But I mean, my dad even told me early on, hey, if you sit on the bench, that's your fault.
Yeah.
That ain't got nothing to do with us. I will come support you and watch you on the sideline. And guess what? I'm gonna cheer you on the sideline. I'm gonna cheer for your teammates. But if you don't want to get up, if you don't want to commit, if you don't want to do the small things to get better, then there's nothing I can do for you.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, that's going to transfer into your daily life. Like when football is over, when everything is over, you still got to work for somebody.
Yeah.
You still got to show up to work on time. And shout out to my old head. I always tell youngsters, get you an old head that'll tell you the truth. Trent Atkins, another guy that I played ball with, but I call him my old head because we talk all the time. And he's like, hey, the biggest thing you can do is show up and show up on time. That's the bare minimum. Showing up on time. Now, what do you do when you get to work is what dictates what goes on. Because at the end of the day, it's like we talked on the phone the other day. You can have a job, but if you don't want to do the little things like sweep the hallway or do the little things, stay for overtime when they don't have when the boss doesn't tell you to, or volunteer to do extra work. When it comes to cutting time, your name may come up because they be like, oh, he doesn't work hard. And I truly, truly believe those workouts with Derek Wallace, me being exposed at an early age to hard work and just understanding that I wasn't the greatest, that I had to be a team player. I think all of that propelled me in my life so far.
To all the coaches that you've had and mentors, what are the key indicators that you found that they all have in common that made them great at mentoring or coaching?
They believed in me. They believed in me, man. I think the biggest thing is belief and being honest.
Being
Like,
honest.
just being honest. Like, hey, Perez, like, hey, you 5'5". What you bring to the table? That was my first arena coach. He actually told me, he's like, hey man, I just need you to understand, hey, you're a short guy, but what else do you bring to the table?
Yeah.
Like I told you before, short and slow don't mix. That don't mix. Like it's not gonna work. So are you tough mentally? Do you do the little things? Are you where you're supposed to be in coverage? Do you understand the playbook inside and out? Do you just know your assignment? Or do you know everybody's assignment, what they're supposed to do? Your leadership skills. Like, what are those things? And like I said, I picked up those little nuggets from all of my coaches and them believing in me. And my biggest thing was I didn't want to let them down. because I feel like if you take a chance on little old Corey Perez, the least I can do is give you my full effort, give you everything I got. And
Yeah.
I've always been that way. Always been that way. Like if you take a chance on me and you give me something or not give me something and I earn something and you want me to do something, I truly believe like, man, I'm not gonna let you down. So I'm gonna do everything in my power to do it the right way. And that just goes into my daily life, how I treat my kids, my family, my wife, my parents. Like, man, I just don't want to let anybody down because too many people have paved the way for me to be successful.
Man, I tell my kids and I tell all the athletes, the most valuable thing you have is your name.
Ooh,
I was
yes,
like, that is the most. So when somebody says your name, there's gonna be a list of descriptions of who you are. Are they on
man,
time? Are they credible? Are they reliable? Are they
mm,
accountable? What's their work ethic like? When I
man,
say Coach Perez, I think passion, I think driven, I think dog, right? So
yeah,
just hearing your name already opens opportunities and it already shuts down opportunities. Just
yeah,
your name alone.
alone. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, for sure. My dad told us at an early age, when you leave this house, you represent me and your mama. Don't bring damnation to the name. Don't be out here selling drugs and get in trouble. Now you bring a bad look to our name. Don't be out here getting in trouble in school because you bring a bad look to our name. So for me, I took that like to heart. Like that really was in my soul, in my spirit. Like I don't want to make my parents look bad. I want everybody, all my coaches who took time to believe in me. I don't want to make them look bad. So everything that I do, everything I say, how I act in public is all representation of them. Respectfulness. Like, I mean, I learned to be respectful early on, but like just being respectful, period, to people, to my coaches, to my peers, to my bosses. That's just something I'll do because I don't want to make my name go bad, look bad.
Yeah. So I want to ask you about your mentality. You
Okay.
have a very similar mentality as me, and this mentality, I think, in today's world, it's kind of frowned upon these days. We look at the greatest people to ever do it, and we know they got a killer instinct mentality. But when we hear them talk about, I'm gonna rip your head off, or I'm gonna make, like Kobe Bryant said, I'm gonna make sure you doubt your career choice when you play against
Yes.
me. When you hear that type of stuff, we be like, oh, okay, it's Kobe Bryant. But if you hear a high school kid talk like that, it would be more looked upon as frowned upon as who does this kid think he is, wanting to rip somebody's head off? That's too aggressive, or because it's so different now. That's because we don't want to make our kids mean, ugly, bullying, or whatever the case may be. But how important is it to have that killer instinct mindset, in your opinion?
Man, I'm gonna be real with you. Throughout my semi-pro career, I was like somewhat extremely like that. I was nice. I didn't want to hit nobody. I want to hit you, but I didn't want to do it too hard because I want to injure you. And then my partner D Wall came up to me one day. He said, "Hey man, they're gonna do it to you. Hey, they're gonna put you on a poster, brother. So you might want to get your mind right." And like I said, when I worked out with him, that mentality changed. And like just understanding, like when you in practice, man, ain't no friends because there's always like you gotta have an alter ego. You gotta have that. You gotta have that mindset. Like at home, I'm Corey Perez, a nice, gentle giant, whoop de whoop. But in between these lines, I'm gonna try to rip your head off. And it don't matter who it is. If my homeboy come through here, hey homie, you finna get this work today. And you don't have, there is no choice. There is no alternative. Because I'm going to hit you, and either you're going to respond and you're going to come back and you're going to bite your mouthpiece, or when you come back again, I'm going to do it again. And that's just what it is. But when you prepare like that, it becomes second nature in the game. You don't have to turn on the switch because the switch is already on.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, when I started practicing with those guys and I started seeing how they practice, how hard they went, I had to step my level of play up as well. But like I said, it took me going into the lab and reinventing myself. I had to go and reinvent myself. I had to get away from all distractions. I mean, back then, 2010 was when I really started training like that. We had cell phones, but we didn't have no cameras like we do now.
Yeah.
We didn't have no GoPros and stuff like that. It was just pure work. And I mean, we had a thing when we were training called the tap out line. And my buddy D Wall would be like, "Hey Pete, I got 911 on speed dial. I ain't gonna let you die out here." So you gotta go to that tap out line to truly, truly see what it feels like. You gotta go and you gotta be walking on your hands and knees when you leave a workout to know what that feels like. You have to. If you don't ever take your body there, you never know what your body can take. You know what I'm saying? So my mentality after I trained with him, that just carried on into my life, carried on to when I was going to school and college. When I got my master's, I did that. I mean, I just had a different mindset. It was like, hey, I got to get it. Ain't nobody gonna do it for me. Everybody else is doing what they need to do. I need to handle my business. So it's just a mentality, man. And once you start believing in that mentality and you create that mentality for yourself, it'll carry you for the rest of your life.
You start moving different. You start acting different.
Oh,
Man, listen, I'm a firm believer. If you don't play to win, you're going to lose.
mm,
Because the person you're going to compete with is going to be playing to win. And if you're just playing to play, you're going to lose 100% of the time. And if you can't adopt this mindset, you're not going to be able to transfer it over into life, because all this is about is sports is just a small season in somebody's life. It's really small when you take it to the grand scheme of life, right? If you get to make it pro, if like you're the 1% who goes pro, it's 3 to 5 year career.
right.
And that's just saying if you do, but if you don't, you get injured, you don't make it, you're not good enough. Those are high probability that you're going to end up into the workforce. If you don't tap into, I'm going to take whatever you have mindset, you're going to lose, because you're competing in life. You're competing with everything you do. You're competing for that scholarship. You're competing for that promotion. You're competing for that raise. Dude, you're competing for your spouse. Somebody's out there. You are competing. And if you aren't trying to win in these arenas, you're going to lose.
Oh yeah, no doubt, man. You have to have that dog mentality. And I mean, and I know you shouldn't have it everywhere, but you need to have it, man. You got to be able to tap into that thing. And I mean, even when I'm working out with the kids, they'll look at my face and they're like, "P, are you good?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm good. Are you good?" is the question. Because I know what I came here to do. I know what I have to get out of this workout. Are you good is the question. And no matter, and I tell them kids all the time, man, no matter what you do, you're competing every moment of your life. You're competing every moment. When you go for that interview, you're competing. When you're in the classroom, you're competing because you got to have a certain GPA. Do you compete? I even competed, man. It was so crazy. When I first wrote my first paper in college, when I was doing my online classes, I remember I got like a C. And my wife, I was literally in tears. And my wife was like, "Man, what's going on?" I'm like, "Man, I got a C. I just don't understand. And I hate that stuff." And she's like, "Well, babe, you got a C." I'm like, "Nah, a C ain't good enough. I need A's." You know what I'm saying? So like that mentality just from working out competing, that came into the classroom. So like that next, I think the next 8 weeks, I didn't get to see it all because now I start paying more attention to the little things that I did. I start reading a lot more. I start looking at books and start, hey, they put comments here, they put this here. Okay, let me do that in my papers to make it look, using words and reading a lot, using power vocabulary. And it was words that I didn't even know. I literally had a computer, a dictionary and a computer and my cell phone. Now, if I didn't know a word, I would Google it, I would look it up, and I would write it down on my notes. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna use this word in my paper. That's how hard of a worker I am. So it was like, yeah, if I get a C, I can't get this C no more. Like I can't do it. It's part of my life. Like I can't. And I tell my guys that I coach track, hey man, if we go 12 over 100, hey man, next week you better go 11 something. Can't go the same time because that means you ain't putting in no work. So we can't run this time no more. So what are we gonna do? You gonna sink or you gonna swim?
There's a formula to cause people to change in a positive direction. And the formula is raise your standards. Because when you raise your standards and you don't meet those standards, it causes pain. And pain is the greatest changer in somebody's life. All right, and look at every history book, look at every your history book, everybody who has a history, everyone has a history. If you look at what caused the most change in someone's life, it was the level of pain. The pain of I
Yeah,
don't want to feel this shit no more. So I'm gonna do whatever it takes not to feel this. So that's gonna take me into that positive direction. And so
yeah.
it leads me into my next question is what was your relationship with adversity?
Uh, Man, adversity is inevitable, but I always try to learn from it.
Mm,
So like if I like let's just say in track when I was in high school, wasn't the fastest, I get beat, I get like fourth. It's like, okay, so I got fourth, I beat these other four, but what did this person do that I didn't do? Did I get out? Did I my race, like can I after 60 meters, can I hold my speed? It's just things like that that I would look at when I was young. Like, I mean, even if I'm not scoring, okay, like in basketball, if you know basketball, you're gonna have an off day. So
yeah.
if I'm not scoring, that's a little adversity because you ain't. So some people feel they're not scoring, they're not impacting the game. So what else can I do? Hell, I can go for loose balls. I can cause turnovers. I can be on in the right defensive set when the coach calls motion or zone. When I rotate, I can be the best guy that I can do what I'm doing and rotate properly. I can do all of those things. So I can help with the adversity. Like for me, I loved it. Like I failed at it. Okay, what's up? Now I got to show you what I can do. Okay, I didn't get picked this week. Coach, what did I do? Because I was always like that. If I didn't make the roster in the arena ball, hey coach, what did I do? What was it that I did that I didn't do to make the roster? Oh well, you know, you didn't do this in practice. I got you. It'll never happen again. So for me, that's how I looked at it. Like
Yeah.
like one thing that I've always known is that I'm a short dude and I gotta fight. I gotta scrap. I gotta bite. I gotta do everything I gotta do to make the team. And it comes back to doing all the little things, knowing everything about your opponent, knowing whether this dude lean this way, he's gonna break this way, knowing what I'm doing in coverage, knowing where I gotta be, studying film. You know, those are the things that propelled me to be truly, truly successful and just paying attention to other people. Like I would watch so many highlight films and not watch it for the oohs and ahs, but hey, he read this like this. Okay, I can try that. Just take little things from different people and try to incorporate it into my game. And that's why I say we have to always look at the past to make the present better. We have to. You have to. Like adversity, that's gonna happen. But like, what are you gonna do when adversity hits? How do you respond?
So I learned a key component from Tim Grover. Do you know who Tim Grover is?
Yes.
So yeah, he was the high performance coach, mental performance coach for Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant.
Mm-hmm.
And he has this saying, and I like to chew on things for a while, right? He has this saying, he's like, when you fall, we've been trained, get back up. Get back up and go at it again. Get back
Mm-hmm.
up and go at it again, right? When you fail, get
Right.
back up and go at it again. He says, and it's interesting, and I love it. He says, don't get back up until you know why you fucking fell.
Yeah.
Because failure is feedback. Take the
Yep.
feedback, learn from the feedback, then get back up, and then you won't hit that wall again.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to, man. Like in a football game, like it's inevitable. You're going to get beat. And on the secondary wise, you're gonna get beat for a touchdown. You're gonna get beat. That's just gonna happen. What did you do? Why did it happen? And how do we respond? You know what I'm
But you
saying?
were
Because
explaining to me that's what I heard from you. You were excited
oh yeah, loved it.
because
Yeah,
there's
go ahead. I'm
opportunity
sorry.
for growth. Yeah. So
Oh yeah,
when you
you
were
gotta grow.
explaining your failures, I was seeing your body language change. I saw your face get tense. Like
Uh,
I saw you get excited when we talked about failure. And those are some key indicators of an elite mindset. We get excited from failure because that lets us know, oh, I got room to grow. How exciting is that to
yeah,
know I can get better? Hell yeah. What is the plan to me to tap into that?
yeah, no doubt, man. It's so much that you can do, but it's just like you have to accept failure. You have to accept it. Like a lot of people don't want to accept that they're not the best. It's a humbling feeling to be the best on your team than to go to another place and then you're just getting your head kicked in. That's humbling. And it also, once again, it's adversity. And how do we respond to it? Like, do I get better? How do I get better? Because there's two. I mean, I've seen people go to college and then you look up December, they back. And you like, damn, boy, why you coming back? You was this D1 guy, woo, woo, woo. And like, hey, I can't handle it. I couldn't handle it.
Mhm.
And I think if you teach kids how to accept failure at an early age and how to respond to the failure, it will propel them better in life. Right now, we're in a generation where sometimes we don't want them to fail. I just say parent wise, we don't want our kids to fail.
Yeah.
They have to. That's like me and my son. We playing dominoes, and he's 10, and I'm busting him up every time.
Yeah.
Why am I doing that? Because guess what? In his life, 10 years from now, or even 5 years, 4 years from now, he's gonna face somebody that's better than him. How does he respond to that? You can't, either you gonna cry about it and figure it out, or you gonna go back to the drawing board and be like, okay, hey, I didn't do this right, let me try this. You know what I'm saying? It's just little things like that. I'm training my son right now, like, hey, you're going to fail. That's gonna happen. But how do you respond to it? What do we learn from it? And how to move on so it doesn't happen again? And even if it does happen again, what happened? Well, we got to tweak this part to do this part. And let's see what happens now. It's about just tweaking things. And you know what I'm saying? Like I said, I had to go back to the drawing board and reinvent myself. And when I reinvented myself, man, it changed my life.
When you talk about reinvent yourself, now you're in not arena football. Now you're getting paid for football. You're in the game for 5 years.
Yeah.
What was the biggest lessons of being at this level versus you playing semi-pro?
Uh, Practice every day was intense. Like intense. Like people don't understand when you're playing arena ball, just because you make the roster one week don't mean you'll make it the next week. So once again, it's a 24-man roster and only 21 play. So you travel with the team and our Coach Dulabon, he was a little different. He'll wait until pregame that you done warmed up, you all sweaty, you spatted, and he'll look at you and be like, hey, son, you're not playing today. Hey, you didn't do what you need to do during the week. We're going to go with the bigger DBs this week. And you're like, wait, you mean tell me I done rolled down here thinking I'm going to play? And I'm not. So once again, it taught me how to deal with rejection. Okay, so I didn't play this week. He said he's going with the bigger DB. All right, what am I doing? What is the bigger DB doing that I'm not? So I watched the game with the intent to be like, okay, he messed up here. I can't mess up there. Okay, hey, he wasn't in the right coverage right there. I got to be right there. So when I came to practice on Monday, I was fired up and ready to go. And I was consistent. Like every day I was fired up. It wasn't like I was fired up on Monday and then Tuesday I don't feel like practicing. It was like every day you're going to get this work. Every day. And so you just learn how to practice. You learn failure. You learn how to deal with rejection. But you also learn that if you put in the work, there's good things that happen to people that put in the work. Now I know after I put in the work, it was like, I didn't even have to look at the roster because I knew I was on it. I didn't have to. I knew I was going to be on it. because I knew I had done everything that week. I knew how I had worked my tail off, and I knew that the work I put in was just going to show. And that's when I also learned, Corey, sometimes you got to shut your mouth and just ball. Because previously, I get a pick, I'm running down the field, Deion Sanders style, talking crazy. Yeah, it was humbling when I got beat when we were playing Odessa in Odessa, Texas. I got beat on a post route, and the dude spiked the ball in my face, and he was like, "Yeah, you ain't got nothing today, too." I'm like, "Oh," and he didn't beat me not once; he beat me 3 times, and I was like, "Damn, how do I deal with this?" That's when I started figuring out, like, hey, sometimes you got to shut your mouth, but sometimes you got to understand too. People talk to cover up their lack of not doing what they need to do. So for me, when I worked out and I worked my tail off, it wasn't no talking. It was come with whoever you got. I must show and prove. Line up whoever you want. He gonna get it. Period. It didn't matter because I knew I'd already dealt with the worst part. I've been exposed. I've got beat. So now, when adversity hit, I knew how to deal with that. It was like, okay, you beat me this last time, but I guarantee it won't happen again. So that was my mentality.
How important is it to have a support system, and who was that support system for you?
Uh, during my journey, like the recently past 10 years, has been D-Wall. Of course, he's just been my man, dog. Like, goodness gracious, man. He's been such a great mentor to me, man. And just not on the football field, but just how he walks and talks and how he handles life, how he deals with like what he's doing in his life. He's taught me a lot. Uh Trent Atkins, once again, he's my old OG, my old head. He's the one, he's that calming place. He's that calming person who, like, when I'm getting out of whack, I'll call him, hey, this is what I'm thinking. He's like, hey, young blood, no, we not doing that. Hey, why don't you try it this way? And also, my wife, now, she is really the reason why I'm coaching, because she's the one that came and was like, hey, you want to coach, you know you got to go to school. Hey, you're not going to work tomorrow, because I did drive trucks for 14 years before I went to school. And she was like,
Yeah.
hey, you're going to go to school, you're going to get this degree, and you're going to coach. And she also helped me understand, like, if I want to coach, I got to leave that job. And when I left that job, it was a pay cut. But she saw the big picture. I didn't. I was hot. I was like, man, I'm taking this pay cut. I don't want to do this. And every day she's like, what's the big picture? What's the big picture? What's the big picture? And I'm like, you're right. And even my buddy D Wall, he was like, hey, you got to grind at it. We had his things for grind was getting ready individually to never be denied.
Oh,
Getting ready individually to never be denied. And he posed a question to me my last 2 years, because he was playing, and he posed a question to me. Hey, what you gonna be doing in 5 years, P? This ain't gonna last forever. Now, mind you, he had his degree. He was already with the state, so he was making money. He didn't have a problem. This arena stuff was just chump change to him. It was just extra money.
yeah.
And like, he was like, what you gonna do in 5 years? And it didn't dawn on me when he told me, but like say about 2-3 years later, it was like, oh, I know what I'm gonna do next 5 years. But I'm gonna get my tail in school. I'm gonna go be a TA, do all this hard work, go to school, get my degree, so I can do what I need to do. You know what I mean? So that support system was there, though. But those three really, really, truly supported me in my journey.
And one of the most powerful skills, because this podcast isn't just about how to get your kid to go play D1, to go pro. This is about winning. All right,
Correct.
winning set a set of behaviors, mindsets, and disciplines on the day-to-day basis that creates winning. You got to start speaking the language of winning. You got to start seducing it, and it'll start coming, but it comes through work ethic, preparation, right? Preparation equals separation, and it's on your day-to-day basis. It has to be on your day-to-day basis. And if you just continue to do the required work every single day, you're seducing average, and you're going to get average result, right?
Right.
And so that's the whole premise of this program. The whole premise of this podcast is to give back. So with that being said, if you had the opportunity to talk to a high school athlete, what you do every single day, what would be your message to them? Like, what would be the most important message you wish they can grab right here that could shift them into a positive direction?
Um, I would say understanding how to work, because everybody works, but are you doing the little things that are going to propel you past your opponent? Are you getting up at a certain time, and are you consistent? Like, one thing I always tell our kids, you have to be consistent. It can't be a weekly thing. It can't be a 1 day thing. It has to be every day of your life. So, are you understanding who you are? Are you consistent? And understanding how to work,
And that's
understanding
the
how to
biggest
work.
problem that we have today.
Yeah, understanding how to work. It's like you talked earlier, we talked about everybody's working out, but are you doing the proper hydration? Are you eating right? Are you stretching? Are you doing all those little things to ensure that when your number is called, that you're ready?
Yeah.
Because eventually everybody's number is going to be called. And when it's called, one thing my Coach Darby in high school, can you produce, son? I need production.
Yeah.
That's the life. Can you produce? What do you bring to the table? I need production. And if you're not producing, there's somebody that's going to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Execution. It's funny you say that because this generation, we give people a pat on the back for trying hard. Hey, you tried hard. At least you try hard. And I think it's a flawed mindset to have because you can't try hard to pay your rent. It's either you did or you didn't. You can't call up to your phone company, "Hey, I tried to pay it." No, no, no.
mm,
Did you pay it? Yes or no? And
yeah,
so this expectation of I tried hard, I want to just completely remove it. I want to get it to the point where did you get the job done? Yes or no? No, then let's go figure it out. Because trying hard is not going to get you anywhere in life. It's
yeah,
getting the job done.
yep,
That's what I tell my kids all the time. And so when they start sweeping the floors, and I'm like, oh man, I'm like, hey, you missed that spot. Well, I mean, I tried. Can I still get paid? No, 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 no. You didn't get the job done.
yeah,
It's the job is done that matters. It's not you trying hard. And this goes into the workforce. I sent off the email, and I didn't hear back. Well,
mm,
your job was to hear back from them. But I sent the email. Oh, no, no. I need you to be sure you got a response back. Did you send a follow-up email? Did you make a phone call? I You sent off an email. That's not enough. Your job was to get a response from them,
yeah,
right? And they're like, well, they
yeah.
didn't answer. I'm like, no, that's not their job to answer. Your job was to execute the mission at hand to get the job done,
Get the
right?
job.
And
Yeah,
if you have that type of mentality, you're going to go out into the world. You're not going to expect a pat on the back for trying. You're going to expect, I need to have to get the job done.
right, right. I think our generation now, well, at least I showed up.
Mm.
Well, I showed up too. But how would you like it if I showed up to work and I didn't work? How would you like it if we came into the classroom and every time you came into the classroom, I didn't have a lesson prepared or I didn't give you any direction of what you're going to do? So, hey, yeah, we showed up. Yeah, everybody does that. If I told you, hey, if you show up and I'm gonna give you $100, what you gonna do? Oh, you'll be there early, but
Yeah.
you showed up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, showing up is the bare minimum. What do
Yeah.
you do while you're there? Is the question.
So so as being a business owner and trying to solve problems in the high performance world of high school athletes, the problem that I'm trying to solve is we spoke about it. They don't know how to work, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have to expose them to what that looks like because they're not exposed to working hard. They don't know all the little things because everyone else is not doing them.
Right,
They're around like so 95% of high school athletes aren't playing at the next level. Why? Because they have a low level work ethic. And so if you're looking around, you don't see anybody doing anything extra.
right,
They're not
right,
exposed to what D1 performance looks like, D1 preparation, pro preparation. They
right.
don't know what it looks like. So my program, and I want to be able to go back to your school and talk to your athletes and expose, here's the required bare minimum, what y'all are doing called working hard. Here's the actual extra work that's unrequired. It's what you do when no one's watching. It's what you do when coach is not telling you, when daddy's not telling you, when mommy's not telling you. It's what are you doing on your free time? Keyword, free time, because I'm a firm believer success will always require you to do the shit that you don't want to do during your free time. That is, if you want to be successful, it's always going to require you to do the work that you don't want to do. And it's that work is always going to require you to do it in your free time. And what's the number one excuse in today's world? I don't have time.
I don't have time. Yeah.
So that's saying you're never going to be successful.
Yeah. I had it was crazy because as a young kid, I think in like my 6th, 7th grade year, we moved over by LBJ High School, and I would watch their practices sometimes. And when they were practicing or practice was over, you would see people running sprints. You would see people backpedaling. You would see people doing a lot of different things, like doing more than expected. So coming up, it was just second nature to do that. And it's crazy. It's crazy because when I was playing for the Gamebreakers, when my Coach Jones told me, "Hey, I want you to be a DB." After practice, I would literally do 50-yard backpedals where I go 5 back, 10 back, 15 back, 20 back, 20, and this was backpedaling, and it would be dark, and I'm out there pedaling. But that's the work I knew I had to do that in order to be great at what I wanted to do and be good at what I wanted to do. You don't want to come off the field, then you got to do the extra, because we can only practice at school for 2.5, 3 hours. Now, what do you do after that? Are you getting up on Sunday morning, stretching and coming running your 110s? Are you coming out running your 30, 40-yard sprints? Do you care enough to always not be last? And I tell kids, you want to irritate my soul, run a sprint and don't touch the line. Like, oh my God. Like, I stop the running sometimes because I'm like, dang, you gonna cheat me like that? You don't care about yourself that much that you got 3/4 of an inch from the line and you can't touch it. God dang, man, like that's what you'll do. So if you can't do that, I can't trust you.
Man,
like
if you can't do the small things, you can't do the big things. You'll never be able to handle the big things.
Like, man, running sprints in high school, I would literally try to kill myself to be first.
Yeah.
And I hated when people would not touch the line. Me and my buddy Corey Cooks, we literally would get into fist fights sometimes.
Yeah.
Because we were so competitive. And me and him were like the stoppers, somewhat the stoppers on the team as far as defensive wise. We didn't shoot a lot. We couldn't score, but we knew defensive minded, we were gonna get at least 2 or 3 turnovers. So in practice, if he cut somebody out baseline and I wasn't there, it was like, hey man, what are you doing? You know where you're supposed to be. I'm pushing him towards me. And communication. Like we would communicate that before we get in the game. Hey, I'm gonna push to the sideline. Hey, come trapping. Like we were doing this early on in our lives. But like, man, you want to really just make my blood boil? Don't touch that line. Oh my God, I will look at you a whole different way. I look at you, then I'm like, man, I can't trust it. Dude. You won't even touch the line, man. God dang, like you gonna cheat me like that?
I feel it, man. So what I tell my athletes is that the little things matter more than the big things. Right.
Yeah.
Touching that line, it may seem so unreasonable. It's so minuscule. It's so small. But in the grand scheme of life, what you'll start to understand is the hyper successful people all focus on the little things on a day-to-day basis. Because you know what? Everybody does the big things because they're sexy. They're cool. You know, it's easy to do the big things. It's easy to work hard when everyone's watching. But it's the little things that stack up over a long period of time, like touching the line. Because if you don't touch the line now, you're not going to touch the line later.
Yeah, you won't. Guess what? When it comes to clocking in, if it say don't clock in 5 minutes early, you won't clock in. You'll clock in 5 minutes late. Like
it's about life.
Life. It's just life. Like, I'm just a big stickler on, following the rules. Like, hey, Coach Norton, shout out to Coach Norton too. If he says, hey, I need all football coaches here at 9 o'clock, I'm there at 9:45, sometimes an hour early, because I'm showing him that I'm committed to the process.
Mm.
I'm committed. You know what I'm saying? But I've been that way my whole life. Football in high school, I caught 2 buses to go to Reagan. So my dad wouldn't have to worry about me being. We had practice at 7. Coach Jack would be like, "Hey, it's 6:20. I know Perez at the school. I'm sitting there waiting on him. All right, coach, come open the door. I'm ready." He's like, "But I'm just a committed person, and I just want to do the right thing. I want you to know I'm for you. I'm with you. I'm on this thing. I'm in this thing, and we're in this thing together.
Yeah.
Like, how do we solve a problem together?" Like, that's how I've always thought.
Talent is cool. It's sexy. But at the end of the day, it's about character. Because, sports, it's going to last, like I said, it's a small season of your life. And when it's over and said, nobody gives a fuck that you run a 4.4. Nobody
Nope.
cares that you can throw 80 yards. Nobody
Nope.
cares that you can dunk a basketball. You're in real life now. You know what real life dictates your performance? It's your character. It's your level of detail. It's your level of integrity. It's your level of communication, leadership, respect, kindness. Can you go one more? Right? It's your mindset. It's not your talent. And so talent's going to get you so far. And I'm glad now that I'm seeing all these recruiting, Instagram, social medias. I'm seeing these recruiting coaches. They're mostly just talking about character and coachability and
Man,
leadership and teamwork. They don't want that talented dude to come in their program and poison it. They
right.
want to know, can you come in and add some value? Can you go ahead and put in some hard work? Can you not be a prima donna? Can you
Yeah,
have an ownership mindset and not play victim? Right?
right.
This is one lady that I follow. I forgot what college it was, but she's like, I intentionally show up to a game where I know they're going to get blown out.
Yeah, I seen that. Yep.
I want to be able to be, everyone knows that you can do good when you feel good, but what do you do when shit hits the fan? Because that is when your real character comes out, and I want to see that.
Yeah. So we tell the kids all the time, when you're winning, everybody's good. It's just when you getting your tail kicked in and you got a 70 piece put on you, and it seemed like you on defense, you're on the field 80% of the time. How do you respond to the quarterback? And how do you tell him, hey, let's get the ball rolling instead of being emotional? The one thing I read a quote the other day, it said, your mind has to be stronger than your feelings. It
Mhm.
has to be. And so, like, when adversity happens, you cannot lash out. You have to be cooler than a cucumber, man. And coaches, and I think coaches, it's an investment now. It's so different than when I came out. It's an investment. And coaches want to know, can they invest in you to do the right thing? Do they have to worry about you leaving school? Do they got to worry about you going to parties and getting drunk? Can I trust you?
Mhm.
So that's why they stalk your social media pages, because a lot of that stuff is who you are.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? So a lot of people, a lot of coach kids don't even understand that, like, a lot of you cut yourself out of being recruited by a simple like. Oh, I hearted this. Oh, well, that's what he likes. Okay. Well, I can't recruit him.
It's not
Oh,
it's not an alignment with what
it's
we're
not
trying to
enough.
do.
Yeah. So I try to get the kids to understand the game is different. Times have and they are changing. And if you are not willing to do the right thing, there is a Johnny out there who's been salivating for this moment, who's gonna do the right things, who's gonna do what the coaches tell him to do, who's gonna show up on time. And they're gonna take that chance on them instead of you, because you are, I don't want to say a head case, but you just can't control your emotions.
Man, you said something powerful. I sent it to my athletes. I made this message. My message, I send my athletes daily messages. Let's extract the lessons. Let's prime the mindset for what we're trying to achieve that day. And so I send them daily messages. And usually my message is I'm always trying to cause a little burn, a little fire in their belly. I'm always trying to give them
Mhm.
the reality check. because that's what's needed, right? You throughout your career, every time you got exposed to the reality, got that gut check, got that kicked in the face, those are the best moments. And because that
Yeah.
lights fire. And if I could teach you to use that negative energy and push it in a positive direction, it's going to cause you to go and raise some hell. Now, that's what I
Yeah.
want, right? I
Yeah.
don't want you to be okay with being okay.
Mm.
And right now, we live in a world where it's okay to be okay. And that's the wrong mindset. Because if you're okay with being okay, that means you don't feel the burn enough to change. And if you don't feel the burn enough to change, you're going to remain the same, right?
Mm.
And it's not okay to be okay. It's okay. You need to, that's a low level goal. Your goal is to be thriving, to be crushing, to be killing it, because it's not just about you. Because when you operate at that level, your impact with everyone else just raises.
Right. Right.
And it just kills me that, I hear that it's okay not to be okay. Like, bro,
Yeah.
no,
No, it's
no,
not.
no. Um, man, where is this? I'm trying to
Man.
find it. It hit hard, and I want to read it to you. Man, I
While
want to
you're
read it
trying
to
to
you.
find that, I saw something the other day that said the game is not going to give you something you ain't work hard for. So if you give the game average, you're going to get average. You're not going to reap the benefits of everything that you could have got out of the game. You know what I mean? So it goes back to what you said, what you're doing when nobody's watching. Are you doing the little things? Are you lifting? Are you running? Are you are you knocking out that homework to keep your GPA up? Are
Yeah,
you reading? I encourage all our kids. They get upset. I don't like reading. I say, well, you either gonna read now, or when you turn my age in the 40s, you're gonna start reading. Either way, you're gonna read because that's where all the information is. You know what I mean? So I try to encourage all of my athletes to read. I told one of my athletes to read the 48 Laws of Power by Robert
yeah,
Greene,
yeah,
and it's extremely powerful, powerful book, and it's a lot to digest. But there are things like in there, like some of them, you're like, man, this sounds crazy. But then there are some things in there. It's 48 laws, and he just basically is giving you little nuggets on how to deal with people, how to
yeah,
deal with life, how to do things without doing things, if that makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah,
That's the way we live in the world too. Like people like me, I'm very like straightforward and forward. Hey, you're not doing this, I need to do that. And you got some people that are sugarcoated. I'm not your sugarcoat guy.
get them out of your life. Find
Yeah,
out
I
who
don't
they
want you
are, get them out of
sugarcoating
your life.
me.
I need the truth.
I need you to tell me the truth. I don't
Yeah.
need, well, hey, coach, no, hey man, just shoot it straight. Don't shoot, just shoot it straight.
So you speak of reading. Reading is part of my program. If you come into my, if when you are when you're an athlete, you come into my program, we operate at a high level. These are the habits we do. We wake up when it's not required to wake up. We step on the scale. We got to be able to track our progress. We got to be able to face the truth. The scale is the truth. All right. You got to be able to make your bed. You got to be able to do the little things. Why? Because mentally, that's what mental toughness is built. It's not just about not making the bed. It's about you not wanting to make the bed and you fighting that voice in your head to make the bed. Right. And
Correct.
so when people say, oh, why you got to make them make the bed? It's not about that. It's about the fact that they don't want to. And now you got to train your mind to want to. Right.
Correct.
And it's about doing the extra work. We work out, but when you work out in my program, it's not what you do with your team, it's what you do for yourself. And it's about
Mm-hmm.
recovery, right? It's not sexy. So we do it. We focus on getting recovered before you get injured because high performers, we see the future. If I know I'm a running back and most running backs hurt their hamstrings, then guess what? I'm not going to wait till I hurt my hamstring and start recovering from it. I'm going to start preparing for it now so it does not happen, right? We read
Man.
our books. The reason why we read the books is because your next level will always require new information and new habits. Well, where do we get this new information? If I want to become great, then let's go study the great people. They're going to
Yeah.
give you the exposure. Kobe Bryant is my mentor. John Maxwell for leadership is my mentor. John Wooden for leadership is my mentor, right? These people, I'm studying them. Why? Because it increases my level of exposure. Then I know what winning looks like. And when you know what winning looks like, you can start modeling what winning looks like, right?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
accountability. And so I found this message I sent to my athletes because I track the unseen out. I track the unrequired work, right?
Right.
The extra work, and it's tracked. And every
Right.
single month they get KPIs. key performance indicators. I get to see how many habits they did of the unrequired work. All right. They get a number, and I put a scoreboard up, and they compete with athletes across the city. And you get to face the fact that this athlete did way more work in the unseen hours when it wasn't required than you did, because you're on the bottom of that scoreboard. Because the reality is, there is little Johnny out there that's going to do whatever it takes way more than you are. And so this is the message I sent to them, because I just posted a scoreboard and I was a little upset at some of the athletes. And I got to be able to trigger pain, because if they're okay being at the bottom of the scoreboard, they're going to be okay with average when they get into the real world.
Yeah.
And so I got to give them this gut check. And it says, somewhere he is out there training while you're not. And when you meet, he will win and you will lose, because your mentality is weak. Tell me again why you aren't training your mental game in this program by doing the habits you don't want to do and doing them anyways. Move aside and let the winners eat. The kiddie pool is that way.
I love it, man. I love
Because
it.
it's the truth. I'm not doing it to be harsh. I love these athletes. I'm pouring into these athletes, but I'm going to give you the truth, because there's a little Johnny out there who is waking up. He is tracking his food. He is working on recovery. He is reading the books. He is working 10 times harder than you. And when you meet that guy, he will win and you will lose. And that is reality of not just sports, but in life. He's playing to win and you're playing to be okay. But you want to win. It's a problem.
Yeah, man. That's where, and you speaking of all of that, man, that's where Derek Wallace came into my life at a critical time, where he, like, it's so crazy because, like, with him, I've never seen him hurt. I've never seen him wince in pain. I've never seen any of this stuff. And I would always be like, man, here I am banged up. How are you not hurt? But it's all the work he put in it, and all the little things too, of him eating, him drinking water, him hydrating, him knowing how to recover his body, him just being a top tier athlete, and him getting exposed to like what to do, when to do it. That propelled him in a lot of ways, more than I could ever know. And when he poured a lot of that information into me, man, he created, and I just say he created a monster, man, because like, golly, man, like I've learned so much by just sitting back, watching, watching how he went about his daily life, watching his pregame routine, watching how he took care of his body. Like, man, I'm telling you, man, he's done so much just for me, and just how he changed the way I walk, talk, eat, sleep, drink. Like, he's done all of that for me. And like, I'm forever indebted to him. I mean, I made him a godfather of my son. That's how much I I care for that guy, man. That's my boy, man. So he came to me in a good time in my life where I was still searching on how to be great. And he poured all of it into me. And I'll give you a little story real quick. One day it was raining and I was at work, and we were at work, and we would always shoot a message about noon. Hey, we still working or we not? So one thing about D Wall is that if he didn't text you, you knew it was on. And so it was pouring down rain. I mean, boom. And I texted him. I said, hey man, it's raining outside. He said, I'll see you there. And I'm like, okay. And in my mind, I'm like, dang, it's raining. And lo and behold, we get out there, boom, God, the sun pop out. I'm like, son of a
Yeah.
like, what in the world? But I mean, like,
He was
gonna get to work regardless.
Yeah.
He was gonna get and he always told me, hey, don't text me no more. If the sun is out, we out. I'll let you know. And for those 4 or 5 months, if we wasn't working out and it was cold, I remember him texting, hey man, we're not gonna be in there, but we'll be here. So it just became a form of my life.
mentality, man, that I want to be able to give to the high school kids because winners think different, move different, and you actually got to experience this, right? And so if I could be the David Wallace for your high school program,
For
and I
sure.
can give them that gut check, and I can give them that exposure, and I can let them know this is what they do,
Yeah, it's important, man.
where you stand in that.
Yeah,
Yeah, because right now you don't know where you stand in that. Right now you think you're good from
yeah,
doing the minimal work because you're playing with a bunch of kids who have the lowest work ethic in the world. Yeah, cool. Here's your pat on the back for being good in high school. But at the next level, you're playing against men. You're not playing against these kids who are playing Fortnite 10 hours a day. All right.
yeah,
Yes, you're happy that you're winning with kids versus kids who are playing Fortnite 10 hours a day. Like
yeah,
that's not
bro.
something to be happy about. We need to reset the bar, my man. And so my program, I'm trying to give them the gut check right here, right now, before it's too late.
Yeah.
That's the most important part. Before it's too late. Can I give you the skills, the traits, the characteristics, the mindset, the behaviors, the patterns, and can I help you develop right here so that way you have the great opportunity to go play. You have the great opportunity to go win wherever you want to win. Why? Because winning's a lifestyle. It's not a thing.
Nope.
It's not this sport. It's a lifestyle
It's
that can be
like,
transferred.
yep, yep,
Winners win, losers lose, man. And so you got to get on the winning side.
yeah.
Um, Last question, brother. If there's one thing you can take away that would, talk to the parents or coaches or just to the kids, what would be that one thing and that can just help them, man? Speak to them. What's that
Um,
nugget? Give them a nugget.
a nugget.
Give them a nugget.
Um, expose your children to different things and let them tell you what they want to do. Don't push them to something that you want them to do. Expose them to football, basketball, baseball, track, karate, whatever it is. Expose them to it
Bro.
and let them choose what they want to do. And then when they choose, push them and encourage them to that.
Just like you would do in sports.
Yeah,
Man, you hit the nail on the head, man. I love sports, all right. But at the end of the day, I love winning more. And
yeah,
you know what? We live in a generation where parents think the only way to win is sports. And when you say yes to sports, you're saying no to everything else, right?
right.
Your daughter, your son could be a speaker one day. He could be a writer, he could be an author, he could be a
Yeah,
doctor. But because you said no to all this other stuff,
yeah,
he could have been the best singer, but you
yeah,
drove sports down their throat
yeah,
and you
man.
never gave them the opportunity to expand elsewhere.
Right. Like it just put them in everything. Glee, I mean, everybody say Glee Club, but hey, put them in academics, put them in debate team, put them in all of that because you never know. Sometimes sports is not their realm. It's not something they want to do. Like my 10-year-old, he tells me all the time, my son, you want to play football? Daddy, no.
Nope.
And I'm like, guess what? I'm cool with that. But I put him on that soccer field, he go to work.
Yeah.
So guess what I do? I expose him to it. I push him to it. And hey, son, do you want to go get some training for this soccer thing? Yeah, daddy. Okay, let's go. And I sit back and I be a parent. I don't be the overbearing guy. I let the coaches coach. I let them do what they do. I let them critique the child. And I sit back and I watch. I don't say a word. Now, in my mind, I may be like, oh, you made the wrong move right there.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I don't get in the car and I'm like, hey, man, you could have done this. No, 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 no. Hey, you lost. Hey, so let's go get some ice cream and talk about. You want to talk about it right now? Oh, well, what could you have done better? Oh, well, I could have done this. Okay, well, yeah, good job.
Cool.
Let it be. Expose them to different things, man, because sports isn't the end all be all. It's just a
Say it
short,
louder, brother.
it's just a small microcosm of what we do in our lives because eventually they're going to have to work for somebody. Teach them to understand how to work for somebody, or maybe if they want to run a business, expose them to the right people to learn how to run the business. You know what I
Bro, if they
mean?
want to run a business, they better come out to compete because being an entrepreneur, you got to be the dogs of all the dogs. You got to be
Yeah,
an elite athlete out here.
yeah.
Nobody's telling you to work. You don't have no team. You don't have no
Nope.
coach. You don't got nobody around you. And so I would encourage parents, listen, I'll just shout out to what you just said. Let them play and let them choose and let them play all the things. And then you'll know that thing that they like because they won't want to stop doing it.
Yep. Agreed. Agreed.
Right
You have
there.
to, man. That's the one thing you do, expose them to everything. And then at the end of the day, they either gonna want to do it or they're not. And
And it
if they
may not
want
be
to
the
do it,
thing that you want them to do.
yeah. And you can't take it personal. It's not a knock on you as a parent. Like none of my boys want to play, they don't want to play football. I can't knock them. Hey, that's just you. It is what it is. But we're gonna do something. That way you're a successful and
Yeah.
productive citizen in society.
Teach the skill. Like I said, it doesn't matter what you want to do, but the skills of winning are the same.
Yep.
We still work, we still do the unrequired work, we still structure our day to win, we still develop, we learn, we expose ourselves to the winners, we model it, and we practice daily excellence on the day-to-day basis over a long period of time, winning.
Winning. That's it. Winning in life, man. That's it.
Well, man, Coach Perez, I loved every single minute of this podcast. I appreciate you for all the lessons, the mentality, the passion, the drive. I love and I respect all the coaches out there. You guys are world class at what y'all do. Y'all sacrifice everything for these kids. Everything for these kids. All right. Y'all don't get chances off. Y'all show up when it's dark. Y'all leave when it's dark. Y'all go to the games. Y'all practice like, man, what y'all do. Y'all are servants to the world, man. And I can't thank y'all enough. And I appreciate it. But once again, man, I want to be able to connect. I want to be able to help you guys build that high performance culture and expose these kids what they need to get exposed early on before it's too late.
Yeah, man. That's big, man. But before you close, man, I just want to give a special shout out to all my coaches, all my mentors, all the people that have come in my life and impacted my life, man. I just want to tell you thank you. I appreciate you. I love all of you, and I will never, ever disrespect the game because it's done so much for me.
Yeah,
And I'm just really grateful of all the successes, all the failures, everything. I'm grateful for everything that I've done. So just shout out to all of those people who've impacted my life. And there's so many people that have impacted my life and they don't even know. From my cousin Harold Watson, who played at Reagan and at Texas Tech, Coach Jamal Finner, who's at UT right now. A big shout out to you, man, because you've done such an amazing job. Shout out to Coach Norton, man. He's at Crockett High School and he's built something, man. And super, 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 super proud of that. And my mom and dad, man, I appreciate everything, all the sacrifices, all the love, all the discipline, everything that you've done for me, man. I appreciate it and I love you. Thank you so much.
absolutely, brother. So if y'all love this podcast, be sure to like it, share it, and just as a reminder to everyone, don't work to keep up, work to separate. Love.
No, no doubt. Peace.